Welcome in here on SportsEdge.com. My name is Kels and this is Henry Chisolm, and welcome to Full Count. We're going to be talking about high school baseball right here in this very segment, and in this edition, we're going to be previewing the SCC. Henry knows everything about every team in the SCC. We were just talking about it, just going over every team, every possible scenario. He's got all the answers for you, and the first question here that I have for you is in that Ham and Ass division. Does Hand have the edge? They got some tough teams in that division. Jonathan Law as well. Does Hand have the edge in that division?
I think they do. I would give the edge to Hand in the him and Acid. They just got the bats. I like Reed Smith. I like Scott Barron. He's going off to Boston College. He had a really great year for them last season.
Huh.
They won their first game of the year. They scored like about 15 runs. They had guys have like career days, go 5 for 5 with 3 RBIs and stuff like that. So, I think obviously high school baseball is all about the pitching. They've got enough pitching to get them by. And for the other pitcher, you've got to get through that lineup, and that's not going to be an easy task. I like Law. I think they have a ton of experience. They brought back a lot of seniors this season, but I think Hand has too much firepower.
Now, Amity, of course, a team that everyone's talking about as a potential favorite in this league. Do you think they're the favorite? Is that a ball or a strike? It's our new segment, ball or strike. Is that a ball or a strike that Amity is the favorite in this
I
league?
would say that's a strike. I like Amity. I think, obviously, people have to get over the fact that Mike Concado is in college now. He no longer plays there. Sam Napiarski, he's also in college. He no longer plays there.
He's not walking through that door.
He's not walking through that door. Neither is Robert Parrish. But I like what they have. I like Nick Fusco. He pitched for them their first game, went 6 innings, struck out 3, looked really good, really consistent. I like Ross Wiener. I like Anthony Capriziello. He was big for them last year in the postseason. He drove in some big runs. Jake Roos at the top of that lineup also setting the table for those guys. So I think as a team, and then with the coaching of Sal Coppola, they've got enough talent to do it again. I think it's just when you dominate the way they dominated last year, their pitching was so good that people forgot they hit the ball really well. When you dominate like that, and then those guys all graduate, you say, okay, well maybe they're going to take a step back. This team is still good. They lost the first game of the year. They committed 3 errors. That's probably why they lost.
Yeah.
I think, and every team's going to make mistakes early on. They're still a contender. That's for me a strike.
And ball or strike now, speaking of pitching, Amity has great pitching. Is Notre Dame West Haven's John Amendola, is he the best pitcher in the league?
I think he is. I love guys that are battle tested and can prove that they can do it in the playoffs when the chips are down and people don't know who you are, and they step up and they get it done. This guy stepped up last year for Notre Dame West Haven when their number 1 pitcher, Greg Zulo, who's now at Stonehill, he went out with an injury, and Amendola stepped up, pitched really well for them late in the season and got them back in playoff contention, and they had a decent run. And then in the summertime, wasn't in high school, but American Legion Baseball, pitching for Brantford, who won the state championship in American Legion Baseball last year. He was just a bull. Every single game he was out there on the mound, you knew he was going to get outs. He was going to strike guys out. He was going to get ground balls. Works fast. He's very efficient. I can't see a better pitcher. Just, maybe guys may throw harder. Kevin Stone at Fairfield Prep throws really hard. He was hitting upper 80s in the last game. But when it comes down to guys that are going to be money players, he's cash money.
Like a bulldog out there.
Yeah.
Late innings like that.
No leash.
Next question is Cheshire. Cheshire also an interesting team. Going to be in the top half, you would think, in that league. Do they have enough offense to win the SEC if the pitching doesn't hold up?
I think that's a strike. I would say they do have it. I like Dan Schock in that lineup. He's going off to Sacred Heart University. I think they do have it. And I think one thing with Cheshire last year, they had a really good team, but they just didn't know how to win. So they'd have games where, we're going into the 5th inning and Cheshire is winning 3-1. And then it just blows up in the 6th, and they end up losing the game 8-3. I don't think that's going to happen this year. I think they've learned from that. Those guys are back, and that experience is going to help them. They're going to get those timely hits. They're going to get those timely outs. They're going to make those plays. I don't know if they're going to win the conference, but I definitely think based on what they have now personnel-wise and with their hitting, if their pitching isn't great, they can still make the plays to get over.
Experience counts for a lot. And Fairfield Prep, of course, another preseason favorite, another team you would say that team can win the SEC coming into it. Ball or strike, are they the best team talent-wise in the SCC right now when you look at all the teams' rosters?
Talent-wise, I would say that's a ball. just because there's so many teams right now that are pretty even. It's just a lot of parity right now among the better teams in the SCC. I think talent-wise they are really good. What would put them over the edge is if they had a legitimate, consistent number 2 starter and some guys in the bullpen that you could count on. I think I mentioned Kevin Stone earlier. He pitched in the opener for them. They beat Amity. He went a complete game. I think he struck out 5. Probably walked 1 if he walked anybody. And he's going to give them good innings every time he's out there. But it's finding other guys that can do it. I like Simon Whiteman leading off. I like Sean Blake. I think he can hit the ball really well. And they've got some other guys in the lineup that can also do some things. But high school baseball is about pitching, and you need to have that second guy. If they had that second guy, then yeah, they'd probably talent-wise, they would be the best team.
Another team, Sheldon, had a lot of success in the past. Is this the year? Is this a ball or strike? Is this the year that they return to that conference championship level of contention in your mind?
I think that's a ball. I think they're going to be better this year. I don't know if they're going to be good enough to win a championship. They've got some inexperience at the plate. So that could hurt them. You're going to need to get those timely hits. And those are things that they got before when they had, Marcelo Orsini and Ryan Testani on the mound for them. I think he's at Seton Hall right now pitching. When you have those guys that have been through those battles and played playoff games and tough SCC games, because that's a tough conference to win games in, they know how to make those plays, and they've seen pitches multiple times so they can get hits off those guys. I think because this team is so young, with the exception of guys like Justin Lynch, they may have some issues winning some of those closer games. So to be a championship contender, no, but they're going to be a very good team.
Maybe a little bit like Cheshire last year, where they kind of fall apart in the late innings.
That's a good comparison. I definitely could see them being in that role where they're going to have days where they go out and play against teams that look really good. Then they're going to have those days where they go out and it's a game that they should win, and they kind of find a way to lose it late.
If you had to make one pick right now, your SCC champion, who are you going with?
My SCC champion right now, I'm going to go with Amity.
Huh.
I'm going to take it because they've been there, and they got guys, like I said, when you lose a lot of players to graduation, you got to ask yourself, was it the core or was it everybody? I think they lost some players, but they retained some of their core from last season. I think those guys are going to figure it out. And I like Sal Capoli. He's a great coach. I think they're going to figure it out and find a way to win a championship.
Well, it's been full count with Henry Chisolm. I think somebody's on base by now. There's a few balls and strikes. Thanks, Henry, for joining us. We'll see you next time here on SportsEdge.com.